Hello there, folks. This video that I'm about to show you right now is my Colombia review. It's my Colombia experience and a little bit of a review about how I feel about it, what I experienced, and how I rate it to a degree. It's not a big review, but it's a good summary. It's a 20-minute video, which pretty much tells you what I experienced and what I learned about the country and how I feel about it to a large extent. Positive and negative, the good and the bad. I say how it is, okay? So don't be shocked. I say good things, I say bad things. It's my opinion, not yours, not anyone else's. It's how I feel about the place and the country and everything I went through there, which was never a problem, but you'll see. So the follow-up to this is I'm writing an ebook which will summarize or write the story in a lot of detail, which will include all of my experiences and what I did, where I went and so on. In the first part of the book, and the second part of the book will be a detailed breakdown of where I went exactly every single day with the videos that I made. So the book will contain every single YouTube video that I made during my trip there, and also I will write about each place that I went to and how I felt about it and what I did there, and what I recommend you to do, and also other recommendations that people gave to me while I was there, which I didn't get round to doing. So I'll put that all into the book, which will be released in about 7 days' time, the ebook, and that's it. Okay, so please watch this video. Don't be overcritical of it, because I just say things how they are. Wait for the ebook, which will be out in about a week's time from now. Today is the 24th of March, so it should be out by the 1st of April. Okay, we'll see you then. Make sure you watch the whole thing, and then buy the ebook. Hello there, my friends. Right, in this video, I am discussing Colombia and my experiences there, and how I view Colombia, and what kind of review I'm giving it, essentially. Some of you may agree with me, some of you may disagree with me, some of you may not know at all because you haven't been there. Now, that's all fine. I'm open to every opinion. Your feedback is very welcome if you have been to Colombia and experienced it yourself. But I am here talking about what I have experienced and how I feel about it. So that is what I'm reporting. That's important to understand. We all have our own opinions, we all have our own experiences, perceptions, and everybody sees things differently for those reasons, right? And I think that's an important way to start. I don't ever script any of my videos, so I just go from the top of my head based on how the thoughts are coming to me. So I'll just start at the beginning, when I got to Colombia, and why did I go there? Well, let's get going then, shall we? I went to Colombia for two main reasons. Number one, I've never been there. I've always wanted to go there. So I've been to Brazil and a couple of other countries, a few times in South America, and Colombia always interested me, but I never had the opportunity to go there. Brazil was 20 years ago, so it's been quite a while. I came back from Southeast Asia unexpectedly, and then I decided to take a couple of weeks to think what I'm going to do next, and then I came up with the idea of going to Colombia to finally find out what the place is all about, and I did that. So, and that is the major part of my work: travel and health and wellness and fitness and food and exploring, adventure. That's what I do, and I report about that. I show people how to travel the best way by understanding situations in the various countries that I've been to, and you can take what you want from my videos and my advice. That's up to you. So that's why I do this. I talk about the places I go to, what I experience, because I don't sugarcoat things. I say things how they are, whether they're good or bad, and that's what I'm going to do in this video too. So some people, as I said before, don't necessarily like it or agree with me if I criticize certain things about countries, but I have to, because that is the way it is. But I also say the good things. So let's just be understanding of that notion, because that is the only just way to do it. Now, in general, I would say that I'm a little bit unimpressed with Colombia. Not disappointed, but unimpressed, because my expectations were much higher based on what other people had told me. Again, that is because they have different perceptions and expectations than I do, with different pasts, different people, different families, backgrounds, education, whatever it may be, it doesn't matter. So, when I first arrived in Bogotá airport after a long international flight, I was very surprised at two things, one positive, or one negative, one positive, I should say. The first one was, oh my God, the immigration line was the worst I've ever seen in my life. And that means a lot, because I've seen horrendous immigration lines, particularly in the USA. I've traveled to the USA hundreds of times, right? We all know what that is about. If you've traveled there before, it can be horrible. So the immigration line took 2 whole hours, and that was from 8 p.m. at night after a 12-hour flight until 10 p.m. So I got to the immigration desk. Then I was very pleasantly surprised by the immigration officers who were dressed kind of like tracksuit-like, not official uniforms at all. Just very like they were regular people, very nice. They were all super friendly. So they were so nice, so caring, so sweet almost. You know, it was a surprise. And it took 2 minutes. One question, whatever, 2 questions, maybe done. Through 90-day visa, easy. So that was a big surprise and a good start. After that, well, I didn't know anything about Bogotá. I didn't really research it very much. That was my fault. So I went to the wrong area the first night. It was cold and rainy, and the next day was too. And the hotel wasn't the best, even though it looked okay online, as they always do. That's a big problem of the internet. We all know that. So yeah, I stayed there and I didn't like it. So because of the weather and the cold, and I left to Cartagena the next day. So then I'm in Cartagena, and did I like Cartagena as a whole? No. I stayed there for like 4 days or 5, I believe, and I was just trying to get things right there, but it wasn't working. Well, because what is Cartagena like? It's basically the old city, and then you've got the Boca Grande beach area, and that's the Cartagena area. And there isn't very much else to it. And both places are extremely touristy and overcrowded, both with tourists and locals. And it's also tricky because there's lots of, how do you call them again? The street hawks, street vendors, some people say I call them street hawks, because they're very, very rude and aggressive. So you don't have any peace wherever you go, right? Whether you're walking through the streets of Cartagena in the old city or on the beach, you are never, ever left alone. Now, I can deal with that, but it did come as a surprise, because I've seen that in many other countries, and it's never been this bad, not by a long shot. That brings me to another problem. The problem in Colombia is a lot with the men. The men I found to be very aggressive, very pushy, almost to the point where they wanted to have a fight if you didn't do what they asked you to do, or if you didn't respond in the way that they wanted you to, such as buy something or talk to them, give them money basically. And I said, well, I don't want that now, thank you, I'm working, I'm filming, so please can you just let me be for now? And then no, shouting and even pushing happened 2 times. I walked away and I was pushed from behind to respond to them and deal with them. And I said, look, my fella, don't do that, that's completely wrong, don't do that, don't touch me. So I found them very aggressive, and it happened several times also with other men in Colombia, where, especially motorists is another huge problem. I'm used to it in Southeast Asia that cars don't stop for pedestrians or motorbikes. You have to push your way across the streets to get to the other side. But this is another level. This is something else I've never seen before. In Southeast Asia, if you do step out and raise your hands, then people stop immediately. Whichever Southeast Asian country, that's a fact. Here in Colombia, no, not so fast. If you step out there and you're not aware, they run you over. Simple as that. It happened to me 2 times. Once I was on a zebra crossing over, and the car accelerated coming towards me. Instead of decelerating and trying to avoid me, he actually turned the wheel to me and accelerated towards me. I had to jump out of the way to save my life. I had about a fraction of a second left. So that was not funny. And then as he passed by, he shouted out the window something, cursing me. I'm like, okay, thank you very much. And I left it. I just did not even try to argue back. Why bother? In Colombia, you don't want to do that. Another time I was crossing the road in Medellín, and I was almost at the other side, and there was no traffic coming, and I was obviously crossing the road, everybody could see, and the taxi driver just pops out in front of me from a parking position, and just almost hit me in the knee, like out of nowhere. And I had to jump out of the way, and I basically had to hold the hood so I wouldn't fall over. And then I said, hey man, what are you doing? Just like that. I didn't curse, I didn't shout, what are you doing like that? And he starts going absolutely ballistic at me, as if I caused an accident when I did nothing at all. So again, very aggressive, very nasty drivers. They will hit you and run away. Simple. That's my experience, and it happened another time. I won't say where, but it did. It was very, very close and got quite nasty. I had to actually get police involved, which I did, because they were not far away. So that's that. Then, what else I found surprising was, Colombia is a second or third world or developing country, let's say, to be polite, and I found it quite expensive for what it is. Because again, I compare it to Southeast Asia because that's where I've spent a lot of time in the last 7-8 years, and I know all the prices for hotels, for restaurants, for clothing, for for sneakers, for anything you need, or kitchen products, food, etc. very well. I know those things, and you get, if you get good quality in Southeast Asia for pretty much anything if you pay the right price, which is still a good price, fair price, I should say. I'm not being cheap here, okay, for you lot who may think that. No, I'm just being fair. Now, in Colombia, I found that you could pay $50, let's say, for a hotel room, which is relatively quite a lot for a developing country, which is just an average-ish 3-star hotel. But the room was crap, so the quality was crap, finishing was crap, or not good, let's say, not comfortable, not enough, no duvets, just sheets. Sometimes not even towels. You have to bring your own towel, which luckily I did by chance. So, yeah, hotels are overpriced and the quality suffered. Service in hotels I also found disappointing. People were very slow, service staff to respond to you, even come to you and ask you what you wanted to order. And in general, service in restaurants and hotels was very, very poor. I mean, the hotels, even in a 4-star hotel, reception would be very, very slow. People didn't really care what you felt or your perception of them or the place. They just didn't care. They would put themselves in front of, before you, the customer. I found that to be the case a lot of the time. And also I was quite surprised, very surprised actually, that people in the food and beverage and hospitality industry largely do not speak English. Now you can say what you want, complex GDP or not in Colombia. In my opinion, and my experience all over the world, be that Japan, Russia, Indonesia, Thailand, all over Europe, wherever, America, of course America, Brazil even. People speak English mostly in food and beverage or hospitality industry. They do, restaurants and hotels, absolutely. So that was a big surprise. The only people I found to speak English at times were students who were working in restaurants, younger people here and there, very few, but still. Yeah, so that was a bit of a surprise, not a big problem. I managed to get by with my limited Spanish and Google Translate, of course. But yeah, on a whole, not so good. Taxi service, very poor. They've got the Uber thing there, the Uber itself, plus a local one or two. Also very, very pricey, very poor quality cars, surprise to me, because it's completely not that way in Southeast Asia. At all. Cars are very modern and so on, clean, not clean there at all, very, very dirty, unfriendly drivers. Also one friendly driver I had out of about 10, or 15, something like that. Airline tickets. Domestic, well, relatively expensive. Much more, more expensive if you're booking late domestically for the next day or in 2 days away or the same day, much more expensive than in Asia. And the airlines are fine, very safe, very, very good, it seemed to me. And the airports were okay, not that great, so-so, they passed. But again, not surprised at that was okay. And the food itself, the food, it depends on what you eat and what you like. For me, it's a little bit, not really difficult, because I eat mostly meat, fish, seafood and eggs, because I'm a keto carnivore, I've been so for 10 years, as you may or may not know. So I try to only eat meat and eggs. It's kind of difficult because you couldn't always find a decent steak restaurant or a restaurant that served good meat, because it's just basically, mostly it's with rice and beans and something else like that, or French fries and so on, and bread, and the meat is quite small. But I did manage to find a way around that. I did go for the beef, the grilled beef, which is the carne asada, or pork, and that saved me. But again, the portion's quite small with lots of crap on the plate, unless you went to a good steakhouse, which was not easy to find. Did find in Bogotá, had a great steak there with great service too, by the way. and a reasonable price. So food again, I found expensive for what it is, for the portions, for the quality, okay, but double the price to Southeast Asia. As is laundry, for example, a small thing like laundry, a kilogram of laundry, wash and fold, wash, dry, fold, $10, whereas in Southeast Asia it's 1 or 2 maximum. Now that's a big difference. It's a small thing, but it just surprised me. Bottle of wine, another thing. I mean, beers, 6-pack of beer, I don't drink beer really, but I think it was probably pretty much the same as in a supermarket in Asia, but not the case in cafes and restaurants. They were charging $3 to $5 per simple local beer there, right? Wine, I was very surprised about the wine prices because, of course, all of what you can get, American wine there too, but it's European, but it's mostly South American, Argentina and Chile. And all those wines there are double the price to the same wines in Cambodia, for example. Okay, Thailand is more expensive and so is Indonesia because of the taxes, whereas in Cambodia there is no tax. So, I mean, I would buy a bottle of Chilean wine for $5 in Cambodia, and the same bottle, exactly the same bottle, would cost me 12 or 13 in Colombia. So I didn't buy wine much. Don't have to, didn't drink, friends. Yeah, so, all in all in the supermarkets, that brings me to the supermarkets, it just comes to mind. Relatively okay price-wise, quality-wise, so-so. Not as good as Southeast Asia by any chance. And the service of the cashiers, very terrible. Very unfriendly, mostly, not all of them. 8 out of 10 unfriendly, 2 were friendly. I bought in supermarkets several times. So I took apartments, I rented apartments and often cooked myself because that's another thing I had to do to eat my food. And yeah, it was just unfriendly and and harsh. You wouldn't get treated that way in Southeast Asia. You get treated with respect and much more politely. They don't mean it, but it's just the way I think the culture is, and I don't blame them for doing that. Again, probably because I'm a gringo, foreigner, and I don't speak great Spanish. They have less respect. Could be, I don't know. I'm just guessing. In any case, what else? Well, apartment rentals also not cheap. I mean, I was looking for cheap, I'm looking for reasonable and fair, right? That's what I said in the beginning. So I think, again, or I know, again, for the quality of the apartment that I was renting, either in Cartagena, very expensive, no, Santa Marta and Cartagena, both very expensive for that kind of thing. Double to triple the price of Southeast Asia for apartment rentals, and also the quality was okay because they were so expensive. I'm talking 100 a night for a small studio, but maybe a 1-bedroom apartment, but it was in a good location. But still, again, that would be half to 2/3 less in Asia. And Medellín, I found that the apartment was poor for the price again, and the quality was not good. Location was good, but it was just not a nice place to stay. Medellín for me was a bit of a disappointment. I found it was a beautiful city for sure. I love the mountains and all the way things are built all over the mountains, the hills and so on. It's very, very picturesque, no doubt, clean. And Sector 13, the Pablo Escobar famous drug area, is a spectacle to see, but once you've gone up the tourist road, that's it. And apart from that, it's very difficult to get around there because it's very spread out and difficult and lots of traffic and so on. So I didn't really enjoy Medellín too much. My favorite place to stay was Santa Marta and Cali. San Antonio was very nice. It's a part of Cali. Very bohemian, very old school, very, very nice, very charming, but very limited because on Sundays it was dead. You couldn't go anywhere, do anything. Most of the places were closed. I could barely even get any food. Yeah, so that was just a little bit disappointing because it was so quiet and there's only so much you could do, which wasn't much. You could just go up on the hill and walk around. That was pretty much it. Go shopping and eating, which is what I did. And the same that's Cali, and the same in Santa Marta. You can go to the beach, of course, Minca, very nice too, up on the waterfalls, very beautiful. I went to Taganga Beach there, another beach in a park area, very nice. The Santa Marta area has a lot to offer, and with Minca, it's very gorgeous, but it's limited. And again, that brings me to the bus services. Oh my goodness me, I took buses here and there, took a bus from Cartagena to Santa Marta. That was awful, tiny and dangerous as hell. Terrible driving and no space to sit, pretty bad. And the AC was awful too. Again, does not compare to anything I've been on in Southeast Asia, does not even come close. Gets a 1 out of 10. And then the local buses from Santa Marta to Minca up the mountain. Oh my goodness me, I thought the other one was bad. This one was far worse. Terrible. And then, yeah, up there in Minca, my God, having to deal with motorbike drivers driving me up to the waterfalls, that was a scare. Saw 2 people crash, not good. So yeah, a little bit irresponsible, the whole thing. Also very expensive for what you got. The motorbike and the entrance fee to the waterfalls. You don't have that in Bali, for example. If you go to Bali, go to the waterfalls, they're free, pretty much most of them, I think, seem to remember. And same in Thailand, I believe. So yeah, lots of, I mean, again, there's negatives and there's positives. I found the people as a whole very friendly. I had some negative experiences where people were unfriendly in the certain areas that I said, but largely very friendly people. I would say the food in general is very good. It's just a little bit of a problem to find real healthy food because there's so much carbohydrates and sugar-based foods there, and also deep fried foods and just sugar, sweets everywhere. So that's a problem not for me because I know how to avoid it, but yeah, a lot of people are very overweight, local people in Colombia. I mean, I saw so many overweight people. It was a bit of a shock to the system, I have to say. So the food situation there is not the best. It is very good if you know what to eat and where to go, and if you can afford it. Like basically steaks and seafood, right? So fish and any type of seafood, whichever you like, is very good, excellent, and not that expensive. But the steaks are fantastic because they have wonderful cattle in Colombia, of course. They have really big, pig, juicy cattle. So that was great. And like I said, airline's great. You know, the countryside, beautiful. Transportation, no, except for the airplanes themselves. Otherwise, the transportation was pretty lacking, not good, not quality-wise. And getting around is pretty tricky too because everything is so far apart. Well, it is pretty much everywhere, I guess, except for Cambodia. Weather, yeah, so also weather, nice up in the Caribbean side by Santa Marta and Cartagena and over there because it's hot and dry, blue skies, but very hot and humid. And in Medellín, the weather was pretty bad, rainy, cold. Bogotá, also pretty cold and rainy. It reminded me of a slightly warmer London in the summer time, actually maybe more in the winter. And yeah, so Cali was so, also kind of cloudy and rainy. So yeah, anyway, that's not a problem. That's just the way it is. That's the climate. That's the geography. It's fine. So would I go back? I'm not so sure. I may go back in a few years' time, but to more specific places in combination with another trip to a few other countries in that area, spending maybe 3 or 4 days or 5 days in Colombia. That's it. I spent over a month there, just about a little bit more than a month, and that was just too long. But again, I wanted to experience it, I wanted to get to know it, and I wanted to go to the key cities, which is what I did. I'm very glad I went, and I would recommend you to go, but you have to be aware it is far more expensive than one thinks or one is led to believe. If you research Colombia on the internet, it says it's a very low-priced country, which it is not so much. Especially for foreigners, because, well, that's what we're talking about here. Because if you're a local, if you go with a local, you definitely will live a lot more cheaply or affordably because they know where to go, where you can eat for less, where you can buy things for less price and so on. You know, as a foreigner, you just don't know that. So that's a problem. That's a problem the same everywhere pretty much. But you get to know that quite quickly in Southeast Asia, where that's the case and what places to avoid and where to go. Simple as that. Anyway, all in all, had a great time. And I would advise anyone to go there, I would, because it's a very interesting country to experience. Just be aware, it's going to cost you a lot more money than you think. It definitely cost me three to four more times than I was reckoning. But hey, that's okay. All right, guys, see you in the next one. Off to...
Thanks for watching Rob's Health Crunch. Don't forget to give this video a like if you enjoyed it and subscribe to my channel. There is more great content on the way from me about Cambodia, health, fitness, wellness, real healthy food, and great lifestyle habits. Don't forget to enable notifications so you'll know when the latest video is posted. Until then, here's some other great content I think you will enjoy.